Hey, Nicole, I'm over here. Over here.
Greg, hey, how's it going?
How are you? Thanks for inviting me. I love this place. It's dark. It's romantic. It stings of it breathes of old Hollywood. And look at these photos on the wall. I mean, I see Bogart. I see Spencer Tracy. I see Gable. Who's that lady on the wall over there? That one. Who is that? I can't make it out. Is that Lana Turner or what? Or who is that? Is that Lucille Ball? I think it's Lana Turner.
I can't really tell from here. It is dark in here. I like how moody it is. Yeah. It's mysterious. It's one of my favorite places just because of that. I'm not going to share the name of it here because I don't want anybody to know about it.
Well, there's not a lot of people here. I mean, they're all tending to themselves. I wonder. I mean, that guy's obviously a writer, and
maybe.
And then look at that. Look at her. How she's dressed up to the nines, and it's a weekday, and I mean, she could be off work from the studios, and look at that guy. He could be. I mean, it could be a tourist, maybe looking at
maybe.
So
it does have that old speakeasy vibe to it, which I really, really enjoy still. You don't see it that often anymore. I think some places try to do it, but it fails, and this has been a classic spot for a long time.
Oh, that's good. Well, how have you been?
Oh, I've been good. Busy. Just paying attention sort of to the world around us and how everything's changing and what's been going on, especially in the film world. And
I don't necessarily talk about the film world, but I mean, I love movies, of course, but I just want to, you get this place. You want to have a martini. You want to have a cosmopolitan.
That does sound good. You're a fan of martinis.
Or an apple martini. That's what you want. And as long as there's not too much of that the appleness, then it's good. And you want to have a nice, and you want to stir it. And make sure it's shaken with the right enough amount of ice, True. Yeah. Well, it's great. We could have these weekly meetings or whatever, these monthly meetings, and go over things. Well, what was the last thing you saw on television recently?
Actually, I was watching old episodes of The Twilight Zone recently, and I found them to be as enjoyable as they were when I was younger. And
hold on, the waiter's coming here with what I ordered. Did you order? What did you order?
I'm just having a beer. Oh. I was in the mood for a beer. It's hot outside. It's summertime, so I just kept it easy tonight. No cocktails for me. What about you?
I started it with just an aperitif, like a brandy, like a very small brandy. It's good. So you're saying Twilight Zone? You were watching Twilight Zone, right?
Yeah, I was watching a couple episodes of The Twilight Zone. I watched it when I was a kid. Haven't seen the new ones.
Which season? Which season was it?
I'm not sure what season it was, but it was the episode where the woman is all bandaged up the whole time, and she's made to believe she's horribly ugly, but in turn she's the normal-looking one, and everybody else is, weird-looking and.
I think that was season 3, Eye of the Beholder, right? So yeah. So can you name your top 5 Twilight Zone episodes?
Oh, I don't know the names of them. I just remember glimmers of them when I was a kid, and I just really always appreciated how they oftentimes filmed in the shadows, like with silhouettes, and that's kind of what I took from it the most, and like also the theme song of it. But
they had great crew members. I think some of them were on Hitchcock, and I mean certainly Bernard Herrmann scored a lot of the shows. But I mean I'm saying, like, even if you don't know the name of the episode, like what's your top 5? Like just say the story, like a woman. Like for example, so like one of my top 5 is like this woman's shopping at this kind of Macy's, this Bullock's in 1950s, 1959, 60, and she goes to this unknown floor. It's an empty floor. Mm-hmm. And this woman helps her, and then she wonders why. How did she get access to this unknown floor, and so forth? I mean, do you know what I'm talking about? This episode?
I believe so.
Yeah, and if you skip to the jump, like this spoiler alert, like then you realize she never belonged at that store because she actually was a mannequin. She was a mannequin, and all the other people that talked to her on this unknown floor. I think it's like floor 5. They're all like mannequins, and they're saying, "Come back, come back to us." And the deal in the end, spoiler alert, was that each mannequin gets to have a chance at being a real person for like a day, and she overstepped her boundaries by like being a human person for like 2 days, and the other people are pissed off because like, okay, well you overspent your day. I want to be a real person for another day. So it's really And now I can't think of the name of that episode.
It's like the names always escape me, but the one that stuck with me the most, because I actually had a valid fear of this when I was a kid, and I had a lot of dolls, was the one where the dolls are coming alive and killing people.
And that
And I think it's called Living Dolls.
Okay, oh, you mean the Taki Tina? You mean Taki Tina, where Telly Savalas and he gets the doll and nobody likes. He's like an asshole, right?
Okay.
Sorry, he's like a dick, right?
Okay.
And his daughter gets this doll, Taki Tina, like I am Taki Tina, and then he's very obsessed with the doll because he doesn't like the doll, and the doll's like, I don't like you. You did a very mean thing. He tries to kill the doll, like he tries to blowtorch it. Nothing happens. Is this the one you're talking about, or?
It could be like the stepdad buys the daughter a doll.
Okay.
It's an expensive doll.
Yeah.
And it's that complete genre of like the dolls coming alive and attacking people, and it's like horror, and it totally freaked me out as a kid. And I remember just always thinking my dolls were going to kill me.
By the way, the name of the episode that I was talking about is called The After Hours with Anne Francis.
Okay.
It's very, it's good. So if I have to name the other four that I wouldn't know the other four. I would say maybe, well, of course, the one with Shatner, The Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. And
That one's popular. I do remember that one.
Well, another Shatner one I like is The Nick of Time, where he bets the pennies and the little fortune teller, and he can't literally leave, because the fortune teller, everything comes true what the fortune teller says. He can't leave. I don't know, two more. They're like so many of them are good, right?
Yeah, and and it was so long for me that I can't, like, I don't. It's hard
Right.
for me to decipher, like, was this episode, or
Right.
was it a part of this one? Like, it's
Right.
hard to think because there's so many seasons, right?
Right.
How many episodes was there of
I don't
Twilight
know. I think
Zone? Like,
160 episodes, something like that. I think it
ran
for
for a long
It
time.
ran for like I think 5-6 seasons, and ironically, the final episode was not a Twilight Zone movie. It was a French movie that won the Cannes Film Festival. It was a short film called The Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge, and because they were running low on the budget for the season. And so they said, let's just package this final episode. Let's just buy it. It'll be cheaper. We'll come out under budget if we just do it. So like the final episode of Twilight Zone is a French movie. It's a French short,
wow.
and Rod Serling wasn't involved. Obviously, they just bought it. So yeah, but I mean, what other classic shows do you watch? Or?
So currently I don't watch a lot, but when I was a kid, I watched Lassie, but I would always have to leave for school right around the time the Andy Griffith show would start. And I would try to watch a couple minutes of it, and my parents would be like, come on, time to walk to school. And the beginning would always start, and the kid with the fishing pole, and he's walking, and you know, the dun 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 dun, like that always sticks in my head. I loved that show. God, I'm trying to think of what else. And then you get a little bit older, and I loved Tales from a Crypt.
Okay.
Tales from the Crypt.
Well, I mean, that jumps like 2 generations.
It
from Andy
does,
Griffith
but
to Tales from the Crypt.
I got really into reading like scary stories when I was a kid.
Yeah.
All the Goosebumps and Scary Stories books. I was just fascinated by that. But it's funny now because I'm not a horror person at all.
Yeah.
I don't watch scary movies really. I like thrillers and psychological stuff. But I went through a phase when I was like a preteen teen that I just wanted spooky stuff. And so Twilight Zone, I think, kind of started that interest. You know, Hitchcock too.
Twilight Zone was never really horror. It's more sci-fi and paranormal.
Yeah, but
if anything, it's like
it
and also
sparked
one,
my
and
interest
it's
in the
precursor
weird.
one step beyond.
Yeah.
You know, Alfred Hitchcock Presents is more thriller based. I wouldn't say it's really horror.
Not horror, but it sparked my interest in like the weird mystery and like twisted ways of thinking.
Yeah.
And I feel like it just, you know, it was outside. It was the Twilight Zone. It was outside the box.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was just like, wow, what is this? And I kind of felt, you know, guilty for watching it. It was one of those shows where like, am I going to get in trouble? Like, am I allowed to watch this? And like open my brain to like wondering about things. And what if this were the way things were? So I think it definitely had a big, you know, role in kind of how the next few years played out for me, or the next decade played out for me, and what was
What was
out
great is
there.
that like those shows like Hitchcock Presents, Hitchcock was making, gosh, what year was that season running? It was like 1955 to 15. Like, so he was making like, he was doing The Wrong Man, he was doing North by Northwest during the time that he was making that series. I don't think he was doing Psycho. I don't think the Hitchcock show ran during Psycho, but like, so some of the same actors appeared in TV that were also in films on the big screen. And you don't see that anymore really so much. Like you don't see like big screen actors also doing TV simultaneously, but you could see that in Hitchcock Presents. You've certainly seen it in Twilight Zone. So a lot of these character actors. I mean, it's very, 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 very different times. So, but I mean, enough about Twilight Zone. What about music or anything else or movies? I'm talking about movies really, but you know.
Well, I like all
do you know
kinds
about
of
motion
movies and
picture
musics.
distribution?
Not at all. Why don't you enlighten me? Is it interesting?
Motion picture distribution? I mean, we're not, I mean, it's, I'm sure people might want to come to this. I don't think there's a single person in this bar that would want to know about motion picture distribution, but movie making, yes, they would be, because there's,
Sure.
because obviously we make movies.
Yes.
And now we're in a time where it's even harder to, I wouldn't say it's harder to find an audience. It's probably a lot easier now because of the economy that with AVOD and, free streaming.
Everything's so accessible.
That it's easier, but the problem is like it's not like DVD where you have this clientele that will be loyal and always buy your DVDs,
Right.
Based upon your brand. We left it to cable television to like HBO Showtime if we were lucky, and then you would get your I don't know 3 million, 4 million terrestrial views from cable, and then if you're lucky, you had free TV sometimes, like the local channels, and
you'd get like free previews of HBO and Stars,
exactly.
That was always fun in my house because we didn't pay for that stuff, and everybody would be like, "What movies are on?"
Yeah.
And the only time you get a glimmer of that now is when you're in hotels and you're like forced to watch actual television.
And they don't do that much anymore. They don't. There's no more pay-per-view in hotels and so forth. And
Most of them have the movie channels, but it's still it's not the same. And I honestly think about that.
What I'm
often.
saying is like you're not going to a hotel and you're going to pay $3.99. Like I haven't seen that.
No.
I don't know. I don't know the last time you were in a hotel, but last time I was in a hotel, I didn't see like any. Okay, watch this movie for $3.99.
No.
Like you could. I mean, I think there was a time you could go and you could see Die Hard for $3.99. $4.99. Whatever. That whole period's gone, and it's kind of going back to the way it was before. Like, what city did you grow up in? You grew up in what?
Me, I grew up in Los Angeles.
L.A. So L.A. There was there were a couple of stations. There was Fox. It was KTTV, which ended up being bought by Fox, and there was KHJ, which ended up being owned by Disney. But like from like 10 p.m. to like 4 a.m. they couldn't get advertisers, right? I mean, they couldn't get movies.
Okay.
Like you couldn't run like Superman from 10 p.m. to 4 because it would be expensive to run that kind of movie. And the people advertising would be like, remember Cal Worthington and his dog Spot, that used car, the car dealer?
I do.
So he didn't have a lot of money per commercial, but he ran like a shitload. He ran thousands of commercials, and I don't know what he paid. Maybe like at that time, maybe $100 each time, maybe like $50 each time. So all they could afford were like these independent distributed movies. So like that's how I saw like. That's how I first saw like the Shaw Brothers Kung Fu movies at like 2 a.m., 1 a.m., like when I was a high school kid. And then like Dario Argento's Deep Red, Profondo Rosso, because on Channel 9 it was obviously chopped up to pieces. There was no gore, but that's how you could discover like these old, like King of the Spiders that ran. I think that ran late. I don't think it was ever prime time. And so that's how you could see like these smaller, independently distributed movies that sort of made up sort of like what independent cinema is now, like the stuff that's influenced a lot of the filmmakers of this and the generation before. I mean, it's and so I think that's what's going on with Tubi. Like you're getting a new audience, and they're saying, "Hey, what is this movie?
Right.
What is Samurai Cop?" I mean, that's a huge hit, but like what is this stuff? And they're kind of latching onto it for the first time, which is great. They just don't have the context of how these movies were made because they didn't live during the VHS world. They didn't even live during the DVD world. Honestly, like the early DVD market. I don't think they ever rented from Blockbuster or Hollywood Video and stuff like that. But at least they're watching it.
Yeah,
movies.
definitely. I mean, because it's so much easier to just click around and be like, what's this? Let me check it out for a little bit. Is it any good? Or at least watch the trailer for it.
Right. I mean, like, we had a chain called like Tower Records, and
I remember Tower Records.
And they had amazing records, but they had an amazing movie division. VHS basically. The tapes at the time, and I mean, VHS at the time would be like $90 to buy one. So you had to rent them for like $2.99, and that's how I saw. That's how I discovered that's how I discovered like John Cassavetes. Like there was this box, Killing of a Chinese Bookie, and the box cover was like this dead guy. It was like literally a stock photo. It had nothing to do with the movie, and because Disney somehow, I don't know why they did this, but Touchstone bought the rights to like these Cassavetes movies.
Interesting.
Somehow, it's very bizarre actually because it makes no sense the deal. But there were, but then Killing of Chinese Bookie is like a dead guy lying on the graphite on the concrete, and he's bleeding. And I said, "What is this movie?" And I saw it. I rented it, whatever, and I hated the movie. I completely hated the movie. It was not what I expected at all from that box cover. But now to this day,
bait and switch.
Yeah, but to this day, it's one of my top 10 movies, and Cassavetes is obviously the reason why I make movies. And so like it's just a way to discover stuff, like these different outlets that don't really exist anymore.
Okay. So you hated it at first. I'm going back to the film. You hated it at first, but then you grew to appreciate it after your mind was able to process it.
I remember at the time, like, because like first of all, Cassavetes died in like '89, and his movies were failures at the box office, except for Faces. And then the Sundance Festival had a retrospective of his films. I think right before he died, or during I think like he died like right after the Sundance Festival showed his movies. He was too ill to attend it. And then his movies sort of like took off a little bit with the Disney releases, Touchstone, and didn't really quite click off till the whole independent movement started in 92, 93, but it was like literally 10 years after that they were like Cassavetes a thing. I mean, it's very sad, and and then 20 years later, like Cassavetes a thing, like Love Streams. Love Streams was one of the biggest failures for Canon Films, but I'm not saying Love Streams is a masterpiece, great movie, and it is a masterpiece. So it's the different culture that you're in, and like we know that well, it depends on the culture too, because when there's stress in times of war, like you're not seeing kids being born. You know what I mean? Like you're not seeing the population. Like I'd like to see like a schematic or histogram of like the populations and like where they go up and down versus times of war and times when there's money going into the population, and so that usually means it's more money to have kids then.
Yeah, people feel safer to be able to provide for their children if the economy is more stable or predictable.
Right.
Sure.
And now we're in a situation now, like, I mean, I don't know when you were born, but like, I've lived through, I don't know how many generations of now new audiences discovering new things,
Yeah.
And they're saying, I mean, there's people like, Hodorowski, they're always discovering him. Every like 5 years they say, "Oh my God, I'm discovering him. I'm just discovering him."
I mean, he's a genius.
They're discovering. You don't see too much about Bergman or Godard, but people are discovering them. But they're always discovering Kubrick. Oh my God, this is great. I love this movie. So at least they're discovering something that's new that they didn't see before, and they're sort of turning away from whatever that's being thrown, being forced in their face. But like I don't really watch TV, and I don't really subscribe to anything. But like I wonder, like if I wanted to see The Shining now, like could I see it on Amazon Prime? Could I see it on Tubi? I'm not sure. Like, do I have to go back my DVD?
I mean, you might have to. I think most things are available somewhere. to stream. It's just finding the platform. Are you a subscriber to that platform, or do you just pay to rent it or buy it? I think most things are available from what I've been able to find.
So, well, tell me where is Abel Gantz's Napoleon available, the Coppola version right now? I highly doubt it.
I don't know.
I know Netflix is doing a restoration of it, but I highly doubt you can see Napoleon right now, which is a great film.
Like I love Weekend at Bernie's, for Christ's sakes, and it took me 2 years to find where I could stream that movie. I had it on VHS. One of my favorite classic, just comedy, ridiculous, amazing movies from my childhood. Yeah. Now I was born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s, so it was perfect for me. Mm-hmm. And it was only a couple months ago that I found it, and I just said, take my money, and I paid to watch it, and I think I own it now. Yeah. But I was just so happy to finally see it because it was nowhere forever. And I found it on VHS tape at some flea market for like $1.50. And I'm like, why didn't I buy that movie? I should have bought the VHS because it would have just been, in my archives. And
well, it's tough because these studios, they have their own deals with the individual producers. I think that movie was Gladden Entertainment, so they had made Mannequin the year before or something like that. I think they also did like Short Time, remember, with Dabney Coleman, which was a flop, but I like that movie. It has the Steve Wynn at the end, the role with the baby, so I think they did that. But, they had their own deals, and so, like, at that time, like, they didn't know what streaming was, obviously. It was like the early days of VHS, like, they didn't know what videotape was. So, like, when you see Fast Times at Ridgemont High on videotape, it has different music. Because they didn't get the rights to have the music to put it on VHS, and I think Blood Simple is the same thing too. Specifically, the final song in the movie.
But it's like, how do you erase a VHS? That's so great. Like, it's printed. Yeah, you can go back and edit like a streaming file, but you can't like take something off of VHS, which is great.
No, it's true. It's true. But my point is that I'm saying like. They didn't know, they were never thinking far in advance.
Sure, because people never thought technology would change. When cassettes went to CDs and, I mean, heck, when streaming came about and people were like, this is never going to work, it's never going to be a thing. And now look at us, like, we barely have DVDs available, and everything changed. There was 8 tracks at one point and vinyl records, but people really never thought, for sure.
It changes. I mean, but it's a little bit different because, they didn't think about VHS. I get it. They only knew that there was cable. They only knew there was television, so they covered their butts for television and cable. They didn't know about VHS, and that extended more to like DVD. But like, if you think about it, television started in 1926, I think.
Okay.
So that was the first technology that they sort of knew, like, okay, we have to prepare. So that's why all these contracts from these producers covered television early on, because they knew that that was the first thing. But then you skip, like, literally you skip 60 years to VHS, and they were like, oh my God, we don't have the rights for VHS. We only had TV. Like, they don't think that far in advance. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, like this is happening. Like,
well, it wasn't something that they had to deal with contract wise and whatnot. And then it came about, and everybody's like, what do we do? Same with streaming. It's like, you had rights maybe for a theatrical release, or you had rights for DVD, but then streaming comes as a whole nother thing. Right.
I mean, but a lot of that. My point is like, things are happening so quick, so fast.
And it's not slowing down anytime soon.
Just in the past, let's say 40 years, and even quicker in the past, like 15 years,
totally,
or whatever. And it's crazy because all, basically from 1925 to 80, all they were worried about was like television and like, non-theatrical, they would supply movies to navies, Navy people on the ships. Yeah. They would watch movies on a ship. They'd watch movies in a hospital.
Or they would put it in a library, or things like that.
They would show movies in the library, 16 millimeter.
Definitely. Yeah. And now we're like, oh, we can make a movie on our iPhone. And that's just mind-blowing in itself, just to think like how far we've come. And cell phones used to be just phones, and we had landlines. Like, I think about that kind of thing all the time, how much we've progressed, and how often I think, honestly, I miss the 90s. 90s was great for so many reasons. And maybe I'm saying that because that's kind of when I had my heyday as, growing up as a kid and a teenager. But there were so many things that were like advanced technology wise, not over the top, simple, and they worked, and like life seemed to be just like smoother in a way and not so overrun by technology. Like we had some access, but it wasn't like that tipping point yet to where everything just became as crazy as it is now.
But clearly, the latter half of the '90s was the handover. Like, like for the first time I know the '80s and '70s they were always experimenting with technology, obviously, because like Star Wars, I think what was one of the first in Dolby Stereo, right?
Yeah.
But then the '90s was the first time you would there were like Dick Tracy was in like Sony Digital sound, and it was competing against the other Cinema Digital sound.
And you would see like animation coming in, and you would see some CGI coming in, but it just wasn't like the whole movie CGI and everything. I just liked those movies so much. Like I loved Jumanji, the first one. I loved like where you saw glimmers of things that made it seem more amazing, but it didn't like overrun the whole film, if that made sense. And like just this way of like, what am I watching? You thought, oh my God, this looks too good. Like, is this real? This looks like it could be real.
Well, I mean, things were still on films, 35 millimeter, whether it was processed in digital and then transferred to 35. But there weren't too many of those kind of movies. Maybe the effect shots were in digital and transferred to 35. But then, like Hunt for Red October, a lot of that is digital. But I mean, my God, like I think like. At that time, I mean, I don't even know. Like each shot, they were dealing with shots that were like 1 megabyte, not 1 gig like today. Like they had to compile those shots, and it shows. But I mean, it was that time,
It was. I think the beauty of like experimentation and also trying new things, and like I look back at the time when people like Jim Henson with The Labyrinth and The Dark Crystal, like you were forced to just really, with the set designs, be so intricate and creative and work with what you had. And like, yes, you may have had a huge budget, maybe not. The artistry within that, what you could do.
Sure.
And you weren't relying on, we'll just do it in special effects later, or no, we can fix this later. Like you really had to like pay attention to detail and make it count. And that's what I really appreciated about that like time frame, was you could tell. And nowadays I don't watch Marvel movies and all that, but we all know what they're like. We all know how fast they go and how flashy they are and how over the top they all are. People can't even like digest what they've seen because it's going so quickly that you don't know it until, like it's going too fast for your brain to even compute it. And you're just like, dopamine, I want more and more and more. It's not the same of just watching a movie.
I like the 70s, and because there was no money in movies. Nobody wanted to invest, and whoever bought studios like Gulf and Western, they wanted to sell out Paramount, and so they had to make movies pretty cheaply, but on their own imagination. So you see, like, so that's why stuff like Chinatown comes out, Serpico, Dog Day Afternoon, even like Annie Hall to a certain extent. That stuff creatively comes out, and that's the stuff I like. And I like Foul Play. I like Saturday Night Fever. That's and a lot of these like Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3. There was all available lighting, and so they were just going on, French Connection. That's available lighting, most of it.
Yeah.
It's run on the gun, like shoot on the gun. So
it's like Leon the Professional is one of my all-time favorite movies, and that movie, if you think about it, is such a simple film, in terms of like what's going to like. It's not like this huge production by any means. The sets are pretty bleak, like a lot of it's available lighting as well, and how great that film is. You feel it emotionally, you see it, you're watching it, you're in it, the characters are great. Visually, it's doing what it needs to, it's gritty. The main freaking prop is like a gun in a plant, the whole movie for the most part. And you just don't see that anymore. Everything's just too much. And that's how I've been feeling lately. It's just everything needs to scale back a little bit and give people time to appreciate like the substance of what you're trying to get out there. And you don't see it as much anymore. A lot of the new things I watch, and don't get me wrong, there's some great new movies out there, but at the same time, a lot of the things I watch, I'm just going, okay. My brain can't compute. I go to sleep at this point watching like true crime documentaries and documentaries about this or that. I rarely watch anything new.
So, okay, let's figure out. Because you're a different generation than I am, obviously. So
True, and you love really old stuff.
So 1990. Okay, well, we'll go back and forth. You probably wouldn't be able to, like, if I told you 1980 or 1979, what's your favorite movie? 1979.
1979. That's a hard one. I'm better with the 80s.
Okay, 79. All that jazz for me.
Okay, I mean, and I've definitely seen that film.
So you give me a year.
And I've made a film.
So you give me a year.
Inspired by that.
You give me a year, and I probably can't compete. Like if you told me 95, like I wouldn't know.
1982.
82.
I was not even born yet, by the way. Like just saying here.
Gosh, for a filmmaker, like I couldn't even tell you. Because Trading Places was 83, so 82, I couldn't tell you.
And mind you, film has been your life forever.
Yeah.
It's a slight obsession. So 82 for me, one of the reasons I know it is The Dark Crystal. And I saw that movie way too young. I think I watched it.
That's not 82, are you sure?
Yes.
No. Are you sure?
Ask the Oracle.
I don't think so. Well, maybe it is. Maybe it
was 82.
Don't know.
And I saw that movie when I was like 4
like
years
92,
old.
you know.
No, that was 80s. And so was The Labyrinth. Wasn't The Labyrinth in the
You're
late
right, Dark
80s?
Crystal is 82. There you go.
So that movie I saw when I was about 4 years old. Neverending Story, all of those, like fantasy movies. My mom let me watch them when I was really little.
1982, I think Death Wish 2, or is that 81? So 81 would be 81's For Your Eyes Only, maybe, and Runaway Train's 85, 86?
Yeah, so 85, I was like far too young to watch any of that. Any of those things I saw were like later in life.
1990 Sex, Lies, and Videotape. No, it's 89. That's 89. Sex, Lies, and Videotape, 89, I believe. So
I was like 5 years old.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Blue Velvet, 86.
And that's a great film. Definitely didn't see it in the 80s.
We can keep going on like this. Let's see. 19. Okay, here we go. 19. You can challenge me on this too. Because I'm.
Well, I'm not fact checking you.
I'm terrible on this. Okay, so.
No, I think you're better than me at it, but I'm not sitting here fact checking you. I'm just going to name a year. So 1993.
I don't know.
And I don't even know anything to compare it to.
I don't know. Far and Away. I have no idea.
1993.
87, The Last Emperor.
Okay.
Year of the Dragon, 80. Oh, Year of the Dragon, 83. 83, I think. 83. So, yeah. Oh, dear Lord. We just keep naming years.
I'm going to go back to 93 because it was not a great year for movies, except for like What's Eating Gilbert Grape, Fire in the Sky.
Yeah,
that movie was.
I never saw it.
I'm looking at different ones.
1969, Carnal Knowledge.
Pelican Brief came out. Let's see what else.
72.
Oh, True Romance was 93.
72, The Getaway, I think. 72. Okay. Killer Elite, 75, 76. We're getting there.
I take it back. Okay, because in 93, Indecent Proposal came out. So did Rudy.
Yeah. 89, Black Rain.
Okay.
Red October, 90. I'm not saying this is Presume Innocent. Presume Innocent, 90.
Tombstone. We're like in different years, just like naming stuff.
75, All the President's Men.
So anyways, let's move on Let's move on from this like spatter of just naming movie titles.
So you're running. The waiter's going to bring us another round. So
it's about time.
Another group just came in just now. I saw them.
Well, people have been coming and going, and that's what people do here.
Do you like music?
I love music. Yeah. So when people are like, favorite songs, favorite this, like I have such an eclectic taste in music. It really just spans from, like, it's such a wide spectrum. And I've been passionate about music my whole life. I attribute that to my mother. She had a really eclectic music collection as I grew up in terms of just like random stuff that maybe I wouldn't have heard. And
yeah.
I didn't grow up in a household where we listened to a bunch of vinyl or anything like that, but music was always a thing. My dad was very specific. He actually listened to old school R&B and hip hop and Elvis Presley, and that was like pretty much it. Mm-hmm. My mom listened to everything. And I grew up with ADHD, still have it, and music was such a huge dopamine hit for me and just a huge part of my life, and it still is to this day. So I love music.
I mean, obviously, I love music, but the thing is, like, I realized that my tastes in music, well, I obviously have a wide span reach and of love for music, but ultimately it sort of connects to a filmic relationship. Like for example, I love Tangerine Dream. I love them. I love
They're
Vangelis. I love Vangelis. But it's still I love Giorgio Moroder. But those are all people that are, like, had I not seen Midnight Express or Sorcerer, Chariots of Fire, Master of Flying Guillotine with Kraftwerk, I would not have discovered these bands. Had I not seen Apocalypse Now, maybe I wouldn't like Wagner as much as I do now.
Okay, that makes sense. Film, like I said, is
You discover,
forever.
I think it's a good portal to music because film has all the senses. It's got the writing, it's got the sound, it's got the photography.
Can you imagine movies without music? There was a once in a time, but
well, no, they always had music, by the way.
Yeah.
They call them silent movies, but
they were to music. Yes, I've seen silent movies, but I just think there's certain scenes in movies that if the song wasn't playing, that made you just go, "Oh my God, yes, this song is just making everything." Like sometimes songs make the whole scene.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. Like, there was a movie I was thinking of. Like, if this song didn't exist, or this music didn't exist, there wouldn't be that movie. You know what I'm talking about? And I forgot what movie I was thinking of, but there's a movie like that. Oh, well, no, it's not a vocal song, but no. Now I know what I was thinking of. Somewhere in Time. If that score doesn't exist, that movie would not be the hit. It was a huge flop at the time, by the way. But Christopher Reeve made a really good choice, though, because he liked off stuff.
Yeah.
So Richard Matheson wrote the book, and Good Time Return, very good book, by the way. Very different than the movie, but if you can imagine, like Somewhere in Time, without the music, there is no movie. And that's not a slight to the director, but I'm just saying there is no movie without the John Barry score. And
it was like a symbiotic relationship,
Yes,
and that's
yes.
I think what good movies do. They really care about what movie and music is gonna just be harmonious together.
Yeah, the John Barry score brings out the visuals. Absolutely, absolutely, because it's a tough, sometimes, I love the movie. I have a real soft spot for that movie, and I think I was watching it like maybe a few months ago. I was like, oh my God, this is like a TV movie. It's terrible. But then you just fall for it. You fall for it with the score. I have like 6 copies of the soundtrack, by the way. So
6
on LP, and because I love the score. Yeah. So, well, what else are you? I don't know.
Well,
we're gonna do last round in about 10 minutes, so we'll see.
We'll see.
But,
another movie that I feel like was great visually and really well done in 2007 was Across the Universe, and
that one, yeah.
That obviously needed that soundtrack.
And I'm a big Beatles fan. I never saw that movie though.
You never saw it? I think it was well done. And I recently heard something about them actually being on acid during a couple of the scenes, and it made it make so much more sense. And I was like, I'm so glad they took that initiative to really drop in to what a film like that means, especially with the music and the era, the genre. I'm really glad they went all the way with it, and I thought it was a great movie.
I get it, but obviously I'm Die Hard. That's my favorite band, right? Abbey Road to me is the best LP of all time. I just question, at that time when that movie was made, was Harrison still alive? I think George was probably
2007.
dead. I think George might have been dead by then. I think
you would know better than me.
So I question the usage of Beatles music in movies. Just you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? I question to do something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But now you literally hear them in commercials, and that's what pisses me off. I'm like, why am I hearing this in a car commercial?
Nike, the Revolution. They were doing Revolution, right? And then I think Yoko Ono was pissed off about that because at the time I think Michael Jackson owned the library, the Beatles library, and he's licensed at the Nike, and they were like, "What the hell is this? Like, don't use our music like this way." So
Yeah, like do it justice. And the film was beautifully done.
but there's another movie like that.
And it's a musical
There's
romance.
a British Indian movie that Yesterday. It's called Yesterday, right?
A British Indian movie? Did Beatles?
Yes.
Lord.
It's called I think it's called Yesterday or something like that.
Oh, I haven't even heard it.
It's
I
guitar.
haven't heard
Guitar.
it.
I never saw it because that's another one I don't want to
Yeah.
how do they use the Beatles music? So, but yeah, I think he's a guitar player playing Yesterday,
Okay.
learning Yesterday or something like that. Yeah.
So if you could pick one Beatles song to be played at your funeral, I already know mine.
Funeral.
Yes. Like I know what song is gonna be played at my funeral, and it's a Beatles song.
I mean, I don't think there's anything that's funereal, but
Mine is Guitar Gently Weeps. That will be played at my funeral.
well,
100%.
Can I cheat? Because they cheat like this on when they do these Beatles contests every year, like the countdown. They say like come vote for your favorite Beatles song. And so mine would have to be the medley from Abbey Road,
Okay.
which consists of like Mean Mr. Mustard, Golden Slumbers.
It's a mashup.
Boy, you got to carry that weight.
Uh-huh.
It's like 7 songs in one.
Okay.
Here Comes the Sun King.
Yeah.
So I would say, so that being said, and that doesn't really count as one song because it's like 7, 8 songs together.
No, but you could cheat.
So I would say Here Comes the Sun or something.
Okay.
And that's also from Abbey Road.
I mean, that's a
Yeah.
great song too.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
there's so
Yeah.
many great
Yeah.
ones,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's my choice personally. Or when I get really depressed, like I'm sorry to go dark, everyone. I'm sorry to go dark, but that's the song. I'm like in the bathtub in the dark, like why am I on this planet?
Well, that's the second best album.
I
to
have
me.
this one candle lit. Should I burn it out and drown
Yeah.
myself now? And I have like whiskey in the bathtub. Like that song is on repeat. You better come knock on the door because this girl is in a dark place. It doesn't happen often, but it's happened. And like that's the one I repeat. And I'm like, just play this at my funeral and that's it.
Well, you notice my 2 picks of the songs, like the actual individual songs, are both Harrison also. That's Harrison, Guitar Gently Weeps, but Here Comes the Sun and something. They're both Harrison. Like
Yeah.
I love Harrison. I just even his solo albums were just fantastic. I mean, What Is My Life? What is life? I love. That's. I mean, even the stuff he did with Jeff Lynne. That album. I Got My Mind Set on You. That album. That's a fantastic album. There's some great stuff that Jeff Lynne did on that. So I mean. Great artists, great artists.
It's true.
Do you like jazz or?
I do like jazz. I'm not a huge jazz person. So my segue into jazz, so there's this group that I really like, and they play like jazz drum and bass. I like that kind of stuff. I like instrumental stuff. I like electronic music. I like country music. I like rap. I like R&B. I like pop. I like
Or maybe you don't like classical. You don't
experimental.
like Miles Davis or John Coltrane or.
I do. I just don't
like McCoy Tyner or something.
I love Bill Withers. I like certain artists and certain songs from certain artists, but like my music library is nuts. The amount of terabytes of music I own is pretty profound.
It's amazing though about the classic stuff. I know you don't like talk about classic stuff too much, but I mean, like you will never he's passed away, but had you seen him perform, you would never hear Miles Davis perform the same song the same way. Because it was all improv. So when you hear like So What or whatever, or what's the other song, blues, All Blues or whatever. You'll never hear it at the same time. It's like because that's the way they did it. It was all improv, and he had the riff, and his band followed him. But you would never hear the same thing. It wasn't like today where everything's manufactured and you got to sing it this way, and you do cacophony and echoes on whatever these people's voices are, and like it's all locked in, and like it was.
I mean, they still do that.
Like
you just have to you have to find.
Yeah. I mean, when you hear like a jazz record, you're hearing it like as if you're in a bar like this.
Yeah.
And you're hearing it, and that's like jazz. That's to me that's like fantastic. And even like he was like
Like jazz is great for me if I'm live and watching it. I don't like to listen to jazz like
Yeah.
on a speaker in my house. There's certain things that literally just like aren't the same. Like
It's very calming though.
it is. It can be. I mean, but there's some jazz that I'm like, whoa, this is really chaotic and intense. I don't like that. I don't like this like uppity, crazy jazz. But
Yeah.
I love classical music too. When I'm in my car sometimes and I've been stressed out, I just put on classical if I'm on a road trip and I just zone out, and it's beautiful.
And that's different too, because like classical, for example, let's say if you take anything that's classical or opera, you will not hear the same performance again, because it's the mood of the conductor, whether it was like Herbert von Karajan or Toscanini or Bernstein. Mm-hmm. It was what their feeling was, the tempo, how much they wanted to put stress into that particular piece or whatever. So in that sense, classical and an opera, it's very similar to jazz. It's almost identical in terms of you will not hear, the difference is that in jazz, like Miles is playing the instrument.
Okay.
He's not looking at a conductor saying go faster, go this, go slower, cut the tempo in quarter. Like in classical, the violinists are saying, hey, what should we do? When Seiji Ozawa is doing this,
Yeah, do we need more intensity?
Exactly.
Do we need more
exactly.
grounding?
But the point is that you will not see the same performance ever for these genres of music, which is fantastic. Like I like it because it's a refreshing thing, and like movies are sort of cookie cutter. Like you have to do this, you got to do this, you can't free flow. And the problem is like when you and you can't reperform a movie. Like you make a movie once. But I'm saying it's not like you're performing a movie, right?
It's not like you're making a play, and even there's going to be differentiations in a play, but a play is pretty locked in.
Exactly. So movie is locked in, and you can't. It's not like you're performing a movie. So like when people see your movie, it's the same movie every single time. Now I know that people like Coppola and Lucas and other people are all constantly revising their movies, so it becomes a different movie. But it's not the same thing like these what we just talked about.
Yeah, I mean. I'm gonna send you a band that I think you'll like. It's a blend of electronic a little bit, very minimal, but jazz roots and elements. And they're called Go Go Penguin, and they do a tiny desk concert at NPR, which I really like. But they do live shows. They have tons of videos online, and you can stream their music too. And they've been a new favorite of mine over the past handful of years. And they're just so talented, and they get in such a beautiful groove together. There's only 3 people. And they're a great example of just blending of different genres, but doing it really well, and not one is necessarily overpowering the other. Yeah. And it's just good music. There's no lyrics, but it's a journey, and it's just good music. And they would make a great film score, in my opinion. The right kind of movie. But if they did something cool for a film, it'd be so cool. I would be all up in it.
It's hard because it's a very sad state of affairs. Musicians used to be the stars of movies. Like, they'd get their own record deals because of movies. Like, John Barry would have his own scores for all the Bond movies and whatever else he did. And, Maurice Jarre.
Yeah, if your movie played for 30 seconds in a film, you'd be famous.
Even Labyrinth was Tangerine Dream, right? So
no, the Labyrinth was David Bowie.
Oh, that's right.
Because he was the star.
I thought someone was Tangerine Dream. It was Vangelis. Okay, yeah. But, Vangelis was a star. He got his own records. And, these days, the studios and... even the indie producers, it doesn't...
I mean, look at Sting, though. He's, scored how many Disney movies?
Yeah,
that's where his bread and butters really come from, if you think about it.
It's just a sad state when nobody factors in the composer anymore, because there's basically no money. Even on the Bond movies, how much do they pay Morris Binder to do those great opening and ending sequences? And that's even gone now because you can just do it stock.
I mean, you can. That doesn't really happen.
And everyone's using stock music now. So it's you're just losing the joy of watching, of experiencing a movie. I don't care about we making movies, but you're losing the experience of enjoying a movie when the moment that you stop realizing who the composer is, because he's not a star anymore. I remember don't you remember like in the day, like the screen would open up and it'd say, this is THX sound. Then you knew you were watching something special, like you were watching it. Now they don't even do that. You're just watching a TV, like you're watching a...
They burn through it quick because people's attention
You're just watching a 20-foot TV, and there's no more like, okay, you're actually watching a movie. The curtains would open up wide. If it was CinemaScope, they would open up, the curtains would go down. And you knew that you would see the Dolby stereo logo, and you knew that you were like in an experience that was a movie. And now, like, I don't know, like kids growing up.
They still do it sometimes, because I've been to some movies and I'm like, oh, okay, they still try to make it, but
maybe
it's not
like IMAX, but who's watching that? But I'm thinking your average person, they're not watching IMAX or whatever
it's definitely not
whatever
to, like, the animated
4D
stuff.
experience or whatever that is.
I will say that the Billie Eilish James Bond that she did, Hans Zimmer was the one that did that song with her, and that was beautifully done. Yeah. And I was happy that they still kept some kind of like orchestrative roots with it and made it like a really full song with a great lyricist and a theme.
Well, I mean,
to
they're
the
trying. I
movie.
mean, listen, that's the only franchise that's been going on for
Consistent,
what? 62 years? 62 years it's been going on, that genre, the James Bond, yes. Well, if you consider Casino Royale, then that goes back. That's like 70 years.
Right.
The franchise has been going on. So no, I mean, it's I think people don't know what goes into making a movie, and they used to.
Well, because it was just a little bit more of a mystery and taboo in a way, and it was just like now everything, because of technology and social media and the iPhone and all of that. Everything is just so accessible. Like everybody feels like I'm going to make a movie tomorrow and I don't need this and that. I'm just going to like film my iPhone and call it this, or it's not as...
Listen, I mean, like Edith Head was one of the greatest costumers in her wardrobe, and like like Cary Grant's suit in North by Northwest, like Edith, whatever, these people were stars behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Wardrobe, composers, the guy who made the titles I told you, Saul Bass, right? So
each individual person had their niche and their art, and it was all very like important and celebrated. Now it's just such a blend of things, and it's just things have definitely changed with it. And I appreciate, like, I can't hate on everything that we're doing now, because like some things are really cool, and you got to appreciate how things have become easier in a lot of ways, but at the same time you long for when things were just like a little bit more curated, and where people just took a little bit more care.
You probably never experienced it, but movies used to have intermission.
I've experienced intermissions,
even during
especially at the drive-in theaters.
Yeah, well, but that's I'm talking, for example, like 2001: Space Odyssey has an intermission.
Well, it's super long. Movies had intermission,
but that's not a long movie. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes. Now they're stuffing.
That's a long movie today.
Now they're stuffing 3-hour movies with no intermission, and like it was a way to go up and get some more popcorn, get a drink, eat something. I mean, Jeremiah Johnson had an intermission. It's only a 2-hour movie, and so it was a way to like enjoy the experience of a movie. Yeah, so
I get that. That. People definitely don't do as many intermissions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on that note, we didn't cover much, but we're gonna.
It was good times.
We'll be back. I like this bar, and I mean, we'll talk about more stuff. I don't want to always rant and fret, It'd be nice to talk about different stuff.
We can, for sure. I feel like it's always good to talk about things that you're passionate about or whatever. And you honestly have such a plethora of film knowledge, so I always appreciate just diving deeper into it. So... I appreciate the time and diving deeper into your brain and just being able to get together and have a drink or two and have a conversation, and we'll do it again soon.
Okay, well, I think you're right. Your Uber is coming up, so until next time.
Don't drink and drive.
Until next time, see you at the bar.
I'll see you at the bar. Cheers.
Bye.